Ever wondered about the life of a farmer in the idyllic vineyards and sunflower fields of France? Imagine waking up to the crow of a rooster, the sun slowly rising over a landscape painted with hues of green and gold, a warm cup of coffee in hand, the scent of fresh earth in the air, and a day of honest work ahead. This is the pastoral dream, the rural idyll that comes to mind when we think of the French countryside. But what if I told you that this picturesque scene is just the surface of a story that runs much deeper? Behind the postcard perfect images, there is a tale of resilience and struggle, a narrative of a people who feel forgotten and overlooked. Imagine, for instance, a farmer who's seen his subsidies, that lifeline which once helped him stay afloat, dwindle year by year. Imagine the mounting bills, the pressure to produce more with less, and the regulatory hurdles that seem to grow taller with each passing day. The economic challenges are real, and the stakes are high. And then, there's the feeling of being forgotten, of becoming a mere afterthought in policies often skewed towards urban-centric interests. It's the feeling of shouting into a void, of tilling the soil and reaping a harvest that seems to be valued less and less. From the vineyards of Bordeaux to the dairy farms of Normandy, from the lavender fields of Provence to the apple orchards of Alsace, these struggles are a shared reality. Farmers across the nation are demanding attention, taking to the streets, and raising their voices in a chorus of discontent. Their message is clear: rural France is not just a pretty backdrop for holiday photos. It's a vital part of the nation's fabric, a thread that weaves together tradition and innovation, past and future. It's a place where people live, work, and dream of a better tomorrow. So next time you enjoy a glass of French wine or a slice of camembert, remember the hands that nurtured the grapes, the cows that provided the milk. Remember the farmers who are fighting to keep the rural dream alive. It's not all wine and cheese, it seems. The French countryside, the very heart of the nation, is in distress. How does the romance of rural France turn into a battleground? This is a question that has been puzzling many. To understand this, we must rewind the clock a bit, back to a time when the first whispers of discontent began to surface. Picture this: the idyllic French countryside, a tableau of rolling hills and vibrant sunflower fields, dotted with quaint farmhouses. This pastoral charm, however, masks a harsher reality. The life of a farmer is far from the romanticized version often depicted in novels or films. It's a life of toil, of rising with the sun, and working till it sets, all while battling the unpredictability of nature. And as the years rolled on, these challenges only seemed to multiply. As the new millennium dawned, the specter of economic pressures began to loom large over the rural communities. The costs of farming equipment, seeds, and fertilizers soared, while the prices they received for their produce stagnated. The scales were tipping, and not in favor of the farmers. It felt as if they were caught in a vice, squeezed from all sides. But the real kicker came in the form of government policies. In an attempt to meet environmental standards and economic targets, the government imposed a slew of regulations. These included stricter controls on pesticide use and a reduction in agricultural subsidies. While these measures made sense on paper, in practice, they hit the farmers hard. It was like asking them to run a marathon with their feet tied together. The farmers felt ignored, overlooked, and underappreciated. Their pleas for help seemed to fall on deaf ears. The government's actions felt like a betrayal, a slap in the face. Their anger simmered, then boiled over, sparking protests that would ripple across the country. And so, the seeds of discontent were sown, sprouting protests that would soon shake the nation. When the countryside roars, it's not the lions you hear, but the tractors. That's right, folks, the tractors. The heart and soul of the French rural community. These machines are more than just heavy-duty farming equipment. They are symbols of resilience, of determination, and of a community unwilling to back down. The protests began like a whisper, a murmur of discontent that slowly grew louder and more insistent. Farmers, who had long felt the weight of dwindling subsidies and mounting regulatory hurdles, decided they had had enough. They were tired of being the unheard voices in the grand narrative of France's economic and political landscape. Their demands were simple, yet profound. They asked for fairer subsidies, for more lenient regulations, for a chance to survive in an increasingly competitive global market. But more than that, they demanded recognition, respect, and a seat at the table where decisions impacting their lives and livelihoods were made. The resilience of these farmers was nothing short of remarkable. Despite the harsh realities of rural life, they remained steadfast, refusing to be silenced or sidelined. Their unity was their strength, their shared struggles the glue that held them together. The scale of the movement was truly awe-inspiring. From the rolling hills of Normandy to the sun-kissed vineyards of Provence, tractors roared to life, their engines humming a symphony of protest. The rumbling of these steel beasts echoed across the landscape, resonating with the frustrations and hopes of the rural community. And the world took notice. The roar of the tractors, the determined faces of the farmers, and the solidarity of the rural community captured the attention of the nation and beyond. It was a powerful reminder that the heart of a country lies not just in its bustling cities, but also in its tranquil countryside. So, as the dust settled and the echoes of the tractor's roar faded, one thing was clear. The voices of the forgotten had been heard. They had echoed through the streets of France, reverberating in the hearts and minds of people everywhere. The resilience of the rural community had reminded the world of their existence, their struggles, and their determination to fight for a better future. As the tractors roared, so did the voices of the forgotten, echoing through the streets of France. When the countryside speaks, does the city listen? A question that has echoed across the rolling hills of rural France. As the farmers' roars reverberated through the boulevards of Paris, the government was finally nudged into action, or at least into the semblance of it. The government, much like a snail contemplating a leisurely stroll, responded in a manner that could be best described as unhurried. They proposed a series of measures aimed at alleviating the farmers' woes. These included promises of increased subsidies, eased regulations, and new initiatives to promote rural life. It sounded like a well-thought-out plan, one that could potentially turn the tide. However, as with any government response, it was met with a healthy dose of skepticism. Some lauded the efforts, optimistic that these measures could bring about positive change. Others, however, saw it as little more than a band-aid solution, a temporary fix to a deep-seated issue. They argued that these measures barely scratched the surface of the myriad complexities surrounding agricultural life. And then, there were those who simply couldn't help but chuckle at the government's snail-like pace. Imagine, if you will, a snail trying to outrun a tractor. It's a comical image, isn't it? That's how some perceived the government's response. It was as if a snail had been entered into a Grand Prix, expected to compete with high-speed vehicles. The same could be said of the government's attempts to keep up with the rapidly evolving challenges faced by the farming community. The public's reaction was an amalgamation of hope, cynicism, and humor, a reflection of the diverse perspectives that make up the fabric of French society. Regardless, the conversation had begun, and dialogue was being facilitated. A crucial step towards understanding and addressing the issues plaguing the heart of rural France. And so, the government moved at a snail's pace, but the farmers, they were not waiting. They continued to fight, to voice their concerns, and to demand the respect and support they so rightfully deserve. The future of agriculture hangs in the balance, and the resilience of these farmers is nothing short of inspiring. What does the future hold for the rustic charm of rural France? As we delve deeper into this question, we must consider the implications of this grassroots movement on the future of agriculture and rural communities in France. The challenges faced by French farmers today are not just their own. They are symptoms of a larger issue that stretches across the globe, the struggle of rural life in the face of urbanization and industrialization. This movement, born out of the heartland of France, is a call to action for the world to pay attention to the plight of rural communities. But the future is not all doom and gloom. Far from it. There is a sense of resilience in the air, an unyielding spirit that refuses to be subdued. And this spirit is the key to unlocking the potential of the rural world. One possible solution is the development of sustainable farming practices. By fusing traditional farming methods with modern technology, farmers can increase productivity while minimizing environmental impact. This approach not only helps to secure the future of agriculture, but also preserves the rural charm that is so integral to the French identity. Another initiative lies in empowering rural communities through education and connectivity. By bridging the urban-rural divide, we can foster a deeper understanding of the challenges faced by rural communities and encourage innovative solutions. And then there's the role of policy. The government, both at the national and European level, has a crucial role to play in shaping the future of agriculture. By creating policies that protect farmers and promote sustainable practices, they can ensure the survival of rural communities. As we gaze into the future, it's clear that the road ahead is not easy. But with resilience, innovation, and a little bit of that French charm, the rural heart of France can continue to beat strong. As the sun sets on the fields, a new dawn awaits. But what will it bring for the rural heart of France? In the end, what does this all mean for the soul of France? Let's take a moment to reflect on the significance of this question. France, a nation known for its rich culinary traditions, its world-renowned wines and cheeses, is rooted in the soil tilled by its farmers. The rural landscapes of France, from the rolling vineyards in Burgundy to the sunflower fields in Provence, are more than just beautiful backdrops for postcards. They are integral to the nation's identity. In essence, the soul of France is woven into its rural tapestry. A country's soul is not defined merely by its monuments, its cities, or its economic power. No, it's deeper than that. It's in the traditions carried from generation to generation, in the resilience of its people, and in the land that sustains them. The farmers of France are not just cultivators of the land, they are the custodians of this soul, preserving the traditions and values that make France what it is. The aroma of freshly baked baguettes, the taste of a perfectly ripened camembert, the sight of a bustling farmer's market. These are the threads that make up the rich fabric of French life. Yet as we've seen, these custodians are struggling, battling against winds of change that threaten to erode the very fabric they strive to preserve. The urban-rural divide is not just a matter of geography, it's a matter of identity. So where do we go from here? The way forward is not in the abandonment of rural communities, but in finding a balance. A balance between urban development and rural sustainability. A balance that recognizes the importance of agriculture to the French economy, but also respects its role in preserving the nation's soul. To ignore the cries of rural France is to risk losing a part of what makes this country unique. To disregard the struggles of its farmers is to neglect the stewards of its heritage. For in the end, the soul of France lies not just in its cities, but in its countryside too. The story of rural France is not just a tale of struggle, but of resilience. We've journeyed through the hardships of life in the countryside, the dwindling subsidies, and the regulatory hurdles. We've heard the roar of the tractors as they took to the streets, demanding attention, demanding change. We've seen the government's response, fraught with complexity and controversy, sparking even more discontent. We've glimpsed into the potential future of French agriculture, a future that is uncertain, yet brimming with possibilities. We've explored the soul of a nation, the spirit of its people, their determination to fight for their livelihoods, their culture, their way of life. This isn't just a story about farming, it's a story about resilience, about standing up to adversity, about demanding a better future. In the heart of France, amidst the vineyards and sunflower fields, a revolution is brewing. And it's not just about farming, it's about the future of a nation.